India is a genuine victim of terrorist attacks. In November 26/11, they remembered that a Pakistani national was captured alive on television. They heard recordings of their handlers. Pakistan has gone from one leadership disaster to the other. India remains a rare, robust democracy in which voters punish governments if they fail on policy issues and injustice. I speak to you from a bit of distance. I'm a Calcutta boy. We haven't seen major attacks in some decades. But we were one of the sites of the greatest forced migrations in history since the Holocaust and the partition. And that was because of some activities Pakistan was up to in the late 60s and early 70s. The part of the city I grew up in was a refugee colony. But suddenly, when Pakistan was no longer on the eastern half of our border, terrorist attacks seemed to have stopped. Ladies and gentlemen, our Pakistan policy is driven by the concerns of our voter, not the machinations of unelected leaders. It is democratically accountable security policy, not populism in disguise. I'm going to make three claims in this debate. First, the proposition has a very heavy burden that it has not met. They've not even told you what populist security policy is supposed to be, let alone that India pursues it. We'll try and clarify the definition. Second, unfortunately, they made this a debate about democracy within the country. I wish they didn't do that. India remains a rare, robust democracy in which voters punish governments if they fail on policy issues and injustice. What you're seeing is democratic accountability, not demagoguery. We'll get to the situation in Pakistan during rebuttals. Third, even if we generously assume, and it is true, that Pakistan is also a victim of terror, it has been unable or unwilling to stop non-state actors operating from its soil. India's measured response is exactly what international law expects, and if anyone has wrapped populism in security rhetoric, it is not New Delhi, it is Islamabad, and the people of Pakistan have paid a heavy price for it. The burden they have to meet, ladies and gentlemen, the motion doesn't say India's policy is harsh or flawed, it says it is a con. For that to be true, the government needs to prove four things. One, that India's claims of harm are invented or wildly exaggerated, like populists claim barbarians are at the gate in Europe when it comes to migration. We have shown you time and again with so many examples that India is a genuine victim of terrorist attacks. Second, we have to prove that India bypasses institutions. Populist policy is marked by leaders going around courts, parliaments, professional military, governing by slogan. None of this happens in India. Or what happens a lot in the proposition bench, the military going ahead and capturing parliament. That doesn't happen in India either. Third, leader-centric volatility. Our position on Pakistan is our position on security policy essentially hasn't changed with leaders. One thing you expect when leaders change, there's a pendulum. There is no such pendulum or yo-yo of Indian security policy. It remains as robust and steadfast as ever. Finally, irrational escalation, which is what they are pointing to. But we'll show you that actually whatever we have done has been a careful and stepwise escalation measured on the ladder. So ask yourself, have they shown that the attacks from Pakistani soil, the 93 Bombay blast, the Parliament attack, the Mumbai attack, Uri, Pulwama, were fabricated? Have they told you why Osama bin Laden was found in a luxury compound 800 meters from the National Military Academy? Have they shown to you that the Indian Prime Minister, defy their generals, do not listen to their civil service, fired their judges, changed courts? I don't think none of this, they can't show you any of this because this stuff doesn't happen in India, ladies and gentlemen. If this is populism, it is doing an amazingly good job of looking not like it. Look instead what India has actually done. It is not a story of wild swings. It is actually a stepwise ladder. For years, we have sent dossiers and threats. And actually, to give them credit, sometimes the threats have worked. After the 2001 parliamentary attack, when Vajpayee put troops at the border and called Musharraf, he made JEM and LET banned organizations in Pakistan. It's just that Pakistan has gone from one leadership disaster to the other to the extent where these kinds of actions are no longer seen. But we escalated step by step. In Uri, we did limited cross-LOC strikes. In Balakot, we went up a notch and attacked camps in occupied Kashmir. And then finally, at the end, it's only Pulwama that made us target mainland Pakistan. But remember, we never targeted civilian infrastructure. No dams, no bridges, no hospitals, no schools were deliberately targeted. We mentioned the Mumbai train bombings. They remember 26/11. They remembered that a Pakistani national was captured alive on television. They heard recordings of their handlers. They saw the US convict two co-conspirators and sent them to India. They saw Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, a short walk from Pakistan's military academy. They watched Pulwama in high definition on Instagram and TikTok. It is a high burden to ask a society's psychology that if they see beheadings of Daniel Pearl, if they see Pulwama, that wouldn't leave behind a mental scar. But policy should not be dictated by negative emotions. That's what populism would be, and that's what the Indian response hasn't been.